So many people in San Francisco rent, including myself, and my three housemates and I pay our utility bill. And in this situation, our landlord has no incentive to retrofit our building, which is an old Victorian building. So my question is, have you thought about this dilemma of decoupling? And is there any way to address it?
Really challenging question. I think that there are certain things that the occupant does control, all of the stuff we call plug loads. So you may or may not have the opportunity to decide about what appliances you're going to use. When we do a better job with building enclosures, we find that increasingly the loads are dominated by things like electronics. When you don't have the opportunity to have an impact on the enclosure, it's a little bit tough, but there's an interesting phenomenon. Lawrence Berkeley Lab did a study a couple of years ago where they looked at 10 so-called deep energy retrofits. So this essentially is what Daniel was talking about earlier, without the solar necessarily, but we're really working on getting the loads down. And one of the interesting conclusions that they arrived at was that there are two primary prongs to the strategy for achieving zero net energy, one being behavioral and the other being technological. And so depending on which case study they were looking at, the solutions were dominated by either the technological or the behavioral approaches. So I'd say as a renter, you're kind of left with the behavioral as your primary strategy, unfortunately.